It was 1837, and Congressional Representative John Quincy Adams stood on the floor of the House of Representatives, presenting a petition from 9 ladies in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Adams didn't say what the petition was about. I'll tell you why in a minute. But a congressman from Virginia named John Patton walked over and took a look at the document and read the women's names. Patton then declared that there was not a single one of them of decent respectability. In fact, he added, one of them was the name of a free mulatto woman of the worst fame and reputation. To which Adams smiled and said, "The gentleman from Virginia says he knows these women and that they are infamous. How does the gentleman know it?" Laughter erupted from the gallery. Patton responded that he didn't know the women personally, he just heard about them from others. To which Adams replied that, "I am glad the gentleman now says he does not know these women. I might have asked who it was that made these women infamous, whether it was those of their own color or their masters. I have understood that there are those among the colored population of slaveholding states who bear the image of their masters." More wild laughter filled the floor of the House. Everyone knew what Adams was talking about, and everybody knew what the petition was about. It was a petition protesting slavery. Adams introduced the document by mentioning the signers first, because he knew that as soon as he disclosed that it was against the so-called peculiar institution, the gag rule would kick in. Passed by representatives of the slave states, it said that anti-slavery petitions could not be discussed by Congress. One House member, James Henry Hammond, called the petitions treasonous. Senator John Calhoun declared that they could not be entertained because they represented a personal insult to senators who own slaves. So, well over 100,000 pages of petitions poured into Congress, and all of them were ignored and tossed aside. Representative John Quincy Adams made it his life's work to overthrow the gag rule. He was born in 1767, the son of President John Adams, and he served one term as President of the USA in 1824. John Quincy Adams never liked slavery. He was the first president who lived at the White House for a significant period of time, but did not own slaves. But gradually, he came to despise the institution, especially after he witnessed a black family being broken up at a slave auction. A few years after losing the election of 1828 to Andrew Jackson, he ran for Congress and won, and shortly after that, he started hacking, trolling, and harassing the gag rule. He became a specialist in introducing petitions that were anti-slavery but didn't mention slavery, like petitions calling for the nation's capital to be moved north instead of in Washington, D.C., where slavery was allowed. He took advantage of the fact that the gag rule was a House rule and not a law, so it had to be renewed at each voting session. So he would try to introduce anti-slavery petitions before that procedure, outraging Southern representatives. At one point, Adams introduced a petition from a group of slaves. When his colleagues tried to gag the petition, he pointed out that the petition wasn't actually about slavery. It was just submitted by slaves. These tactics infuriated Southern representatives. One asked whether it was a light thing for the amusement of others to irritate almost to madness the whole delegation from the slaveholding states. But every time they denounced Adams, it gave him another chance to make long speeches for free speech and against slavery. Adams went so far as to introduce a petition calling for the dissolution of the Union unless the gag rule was rescinded. When slaveholding representatives demanded that he be censured, that is, formally condemned by Congress, he welcomed the move. It meant he could spend additional hours on the floor of the House defending himself and attacking slavery. Congress finally rescinded the gag rule in 1844. John Quincy Adams died a member of the House in 1848, 17 years before slavery was abolished by the 13th Amendment of the Constitution. But he always had faith that that moment would arrive, with or without his presence. Roll, years of promise, rapidly roll round, John Quincy Adams prophesied, till not a slave shall on this earth be found.